Now that children have access to almost anyone in the world in the palm of their hand, it has never been easier for them to communicate with people they wouldn't otherwise talk to. 6 hours later, and this scene behind me is still intact. Caution tape is still up. Authorities are still on scene. And the Bureau of Criminal Investigations, who is taking over the investigation into this officer-involved shooting, is now here. If you take a look right over here, this tree was picked up, toppled over. You can see this root system. It's taller than I am. It's wider than I am. It really gives you that shock factor to just show you how powerful this was. This is the exact spot where an adult took out mace and sprayed it into a 3-year-old's face. And right over here on this lamppost, that's the camera that caught all of it. One of the reasons her kids have to get up an hour earlier is a longer walk to the bus stop. And we're about to find out just how long that takes. It took 10 minutes and 24 seconds from the front door right to the bus stop. After a pandemic and now Putin's war on Ukraine, he inherited an economic crisis that showed us how vulnerable we are when we become too reliant on things made overseas. The Westling's backyard is already surrounded by downward slopes. But because of the placement of this storm drain, they say the last 2 years have been a nightmare. It's hard to imagine how anyone would react when a car is coming at you in the center lane at freeway speeds. I pulled the radio dispatch numbers for Pierce Township, and this is what we found out. Police only responded 57 times in 2020 here at the Fairway apartment complex. I asked police if they thought about increasing patrols now that potentially hundreds of kids would be walking on busy streets and waiting at public bus stops. As of right now, they say they have no comment. The Big 12 pays anywhere between $36 to $40 million per team. That's more than 6 times what UC gets from the AAC right now. Crimes Against Children Research Center says that 1 in 20 boys and 4 in 20 girls is a victim of child sexual abuse. Adam, it was a terrifying moment, but an eye-opening one to understand what people in these neighborhoods are experiencing. Like you mentioned, we were on the scene of one shooting, trying to get answers from police when we heard over 8 dozen shots ring out, people screaming just 100 yards away. This is a reality check on the serious gun issue that the community here in Avondale is trying to battle. A sound that's become all too familiar, but no less alarming. Police were investigating a girl shot on Glenwood off Reading Road until 16 shots rang out. Police were in a full sprint to a block away where witnesses say the shooting targeted this home. Gun violence is ravaging Avondale, 20 shootings so far this year. And it's why just hours earlier, stakeholders in the community had a meeting to combine resources in an effort to curb this violence.
About the 6 o'clock? There's a different Avondale.
The president of the Avondale Community Council says it's time for adults to step up.
You can't keep dropping the ball and passing the buck. And I think we've done that so long to where our kids, they know. Kids know. Kids know when you care. They know when you don't care.
Today, 16-year-old Gavlin Beauchamp died after being shot Monday night. These stakeholders in this small classroom say it's the most recent example of a young life that's fallen through the cracks.
Sunday, he came to my door. He said, Miss Jillian, this your package. I know you is because you don't even want to order dog toys online.
The casings that litter Man Street are another scary reminder that these bullets have a ripple effect of trauma. Trauma for families, friends, witnesses, and bystanders alike.
As a kid, I don't remember a friend ever getting shot. These kids, they are going to remember this for the rest of their lives. But will it change their life? Will it have an impact on them? That's going to be up to us.
Now, for perspective, these shootings tonight are just 1 block away from where Gavlin Beauchamp was shot on Monday night. As you can see behind me, police are still on scene nearly 3 hours later, still working this investigation. The power of this tornado is evident anywhere you look this evening in Sardinia, and I have a powerful example for you to show you just how strong these winds are. If you take a look right over here, this tree was picked up, toppled over. You can see this root system. It's taller than I am. It's wider than I am. It really gives you that shock factor to just show you how powerful this was. Not only that, But the winds took the tree up. You can see that it's moved this sidewalk. The cement blocks are now toppled over. But that's not all, you guys. If we take you around the corner over here, this tree is huge. And it flattened this car over here just like a pancake. Bad news for this car owner tonight. The tree's so long that the fire department has been here for a few hours now trying to cut down some of these branches that landed on part of a house next door. Just one example of the damage that these residents in Sardinia are dealing with this evening and trying to clean up before the sun comes up in the morning. Now, we were able to talk to two homeowners earlier tonight who also suffered damage to their property. They had trees falling on their garages, their pool, parts of their home. The damage to their property wasn't that bad, but the cleanup is going to take a while. They told us the whole thing happened in only seconds, and it sounded like a train coming right at them.
The last thing I ever expected in Sardinia. I know a lot happens in Brown County, but not a tornado. Yeah. That was wild. I mean, we're all above ground and breathing, so that's something to be thankful for sure.
So the good news tonight is we're not hearing any news of any people getting injured or hurt, so that is something to be grateful for this evening. What they're dealing with mostly today is cleaning up huge trees like this that have fallen down, and of course those power lines. We've seen crews all night trying to get the power back up and make sure that no one's getting hurt on those down power lines. For now, we're live in Sardinia. I'm Cassy Arsenal, Local 12 News. Student surveillance is now 24/7. Conversations students once had in person, they're having over the computer. And the Cincinnati Public Schools can see it all. All they need to be able to spy is an app called Gaggle.
It basically goes through all of the chat messages, all the emails, and all of the documents looking for keywords. It could be cuss words, it could be relating to, suicide, alcohol, violence.
Gaggle uses an algorithm that scrapes keywords in places like Google Chats. A Gaggle employee reads them and then alerts that particular school. Each school has a team of people that are supposed to read the context of the flagged word before taking action.
We have had students who are contemplating suicide, and we have been able to step in and intervene and get them the help that they need.
I think it's fantastic. I didn't even know that was a thing until you told me. I think it's great.
It's easy to say that the algorithm has prevented things because we don't have the data. So it's easy for me to make up data that is not verifiable.
Joe Robb cannot deny this algorithm may have stopped violent threats, bullying, and suicides. CPS says what Gaggle flags is broken up into 3 levels, the third level being the most severe. Last month, they had 7 flags in the most severe category. 258 rose to a level 2 and 23 at level 1. Still, Joe Robb says algorithms are imperfect. His daughter in the 5th grade at Dater Montessori was added to a Google chat she did not ask to be added to, and she did not participate in. Still, when the conversation was flagged for self-harm, the vice principal threatened to take away her laptop.
The algorithm said this is a problem, and the direct response from the school was, your daughter's the problem. Where in fact she wasn't the problem, right? It was something that needed to be reviewed.
Robb says the vice principal apologized. Robb jumped into the chat, sending this urgent warning that would hit home.
We're all internet citizens. This is the most our kids have used the internet, and this is an opportunity to teach them about how to use the internet.
Cassy Arsenal, Local 12 News. It's 6:30 a.m. on Cary Avenue on Thursday.
1, 2, 3.
12-year-old Sarah Cooper and her 13-year-old brother Logan, ready or not, make the several-minute walk in the dark to busy Hamilton Avenue, where they wait for the first bus in what will be a pretty long journey across town to Walnut Hills.
Because she's nervous about everything.
Probably that, but also him. He's not going to pay any attention. Like him. They don't know it now, but this commute will take them 52 minutes to make it to school after one bus transfer and crossing the highly trafficked Martin Luther King Drive before making it to their destination.
If they did not have each other, I would not even let this happen at all. I am not sending my 12-year-old daughter on public transportation and to stand on Hamilton Avenue.
Lori Cooper has 1,000,001 reasons to be worried. Her biggest fear? Her kids being hit while waiting or crossing busy streets.
I fear that it's not going to be as safe as we might hope it would be.
Our students get killed in the street. They get hit repeatedly. People need to slow the hell down in this town, and they don't.
But truth is, the commute to school went smoothly for her kids on this rainy morning. They used crosswalks for the busy streets. Their buses came with only 7-minute wait times. And while buses were crowded, the majority of people on it were students. The biggest disadvantage, that almost hour commute to school.
Was sort of right then in the end?
It's a good question, and I don't know if it's so much about who's right or who's wrong, as much as it is, for me, what's best for students and families. And what's best for students and families are the extra routes, unquestionably.
There's one thing that still may need some work: dismissal.
Stay back.
There's kinks to be worked out, no doubt. But the real story here, bus drivers, administrators, and families took a really awful scenario with only 3 weeks' notice and made it successful. It won't guarantee their safety for the next 9 months, but for now, they're left with no alternative but to roll with it.